Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Prehistoric Islands. Today, we will be working on the second half of Dagger Island, which will be filled with deadly carnivores. But first, to give you some context, Dagger Island is a small island that will be split into two halves. Last episode, we worked on and finished the herbivore side of the island, which is occupied by a whole load of the classic herbivores and a small group of amenities. But in this episode, I will of course introduce to you the carnivore side. As soon as you enter, you will be greeted by some big red banners. The red obviously signals that the entry you will soon be entering is full of carnivorous species. But if you go around the banner, you will see some green ones, telling you that you will enter an area filled to the brim with herbivores. The first thing we will talk about in this half of the island is the small museum left out in the open. Here, there are plenty of opportunities to learn about our prehistoric past. Let's start off with this giant rock with the Jurassic World logo inscribed into it. This is because these 70 million year old plants used to be held inside the Jurassic World Innovation Center. The plants were unfortunately dying, so they gave it to us here in Prehistoric Islands in hopes to save the plants. Fortunately, they have been saved by our paleobotany team, and it sits here waiting for the InGen guys to pick it up. In episode 8 of Prehistoric Islands, I showed you some cages that the first dinosaurs of the park were held inside. We decided that it would be a good idea to transport some of them into the museum here at Dagger Island. This is the first skeleton we will see in this episode, and it is an Alamosaurus skeleton. This skeleton was donated to us by some fossil collectors in New Mexico who did not know what to do with the skeleton since their local museum didn't want it. This curved wall piece is full of prehistoric marvels that have yet to be fully prepared. We wish to leave it like this because prepping the entire thing would cost lots of money and lots of time. Back to the skeletons, we have the legendary Tyrannosaurus Rex on display right here. Surprisingly, we found 60% of the skeleton by ourselves. The remaining 40% are just casts. We originally wanted to create a Tyrannosaurus out of these, but we thought it'd be better to display it as a skeleton in this museum here. This Spinoskeleton is the only specimen in this museum that is a replica. This is largely because we spent all our money in trying to create hybrid dinosaurs, so the park is now broke. Over here, right in front of the skeletons, we have some unopened 1.1 million year old geodes that were found in Germany, which are yet to be opened because they are still closed geodes approximately 1.1 million years old that were found in Germany. We bought this amber for a really cheap price on the black market, on a perfectly legal fossil dealer website, and it now sits over here on display in the museum. Unfortunately, this Spinosaurus skull is also a replica. The park really blew their budget doing the hybrid stuff. No wonder they had to resort to using the black market. The park was given a whole bunch of amber and we didn't quite know what to do with it. So I decided to place the amber in such a way that it looked like a Tanty-4. You can tell that this is the point where I started to get really bored building the museum. This was also the point where I heard the fan of my PlayStation. I haven't heard that thing in 6 months! Anyway, we have some pterosaur statues that one of our staff decided to make when they were bored. And finally, we have this velociraptor mural which foreshadows what we'll see very soon. You may have also noticed that there are signs everywhere. These are to tell you what specimen you're looking at and some facts about it. And of course, the fossil walls border the museum. In the start of the video, you may have noticed these viewing galleries. These days, it's quite rare that I use these since I prefer the interactiveness of using invisible fencing or a decoration to separate human life from prehistoric ones. But I decided that these small carnivores are going to need so much more than planters to keep the guests safe. And I don't need to mention this, but here are the plants in between the viewing galleries so that there won't be any open space in the middle. And right here is the enclosure. This velociraptor enclosure is Jurassic World inspired, so I decided to keep the original octagonal shape of the enclosure, and the idea of keeping the dinosaurs inside of these holding cell type areas. If you don't know what I'm talking about, these 4 rectangular boxes are sort of like miniature houses for the velociraptors, which basically means this is where they will sleep. Each velociraptor will have one of these boxes, just like how in Jurassic World the velociraptors are put inside of these smaller cages, and sometimes their heads get put into this Scold's Birdle type torture device. Behind those, there are some goat cells, which house the goats that the velociraptors will soon eat. And right behind that, there's a small carnivore maintenance area. Hence the name, it takes care of all small carnivore dinosaurs and enclosures all throughout the park. Inside, we make use of doubled fencing to give off that classic industrial vibe when you enter these types of areas. Of course, every staff area needs cameras, because if anything gets stolen, bad things can happen. Here, we have some rather poorly placed biosyn lights that lead people to an emergency shelter just in case something breaks out. This hotel right here serves as a veterinary area in case a dinosaur dies or gets sick. Unfortunately, one of the oviraptors kicked the bucket here just last week. This here is an observation deck, just in case a camera malfunctions and we're in need of a lookout. And if that breaks down, we will resort to plan C, which is the use of this small watchtower right here. Down below, we have a supply camp for the veterinarians. We have some tents full of medical supplies, and some cargo to put all the sad dinosaur bodies in. And right here, we have this waste area that is blocked off by this gate. Hence the name, it is full of dung and all that nasty stuff. But although you may think this is all useless, we actually use this dung to fertilize some of the plants all throughout the park. We have a water tank right here at the back so the dung can be hydrated and maintained. This room also has a camera of its own just so no one decides to steal the precious poop that we have worked extremely hard for. Like and subscribe, and see you next time.